When the temple fell, faith stood. It was the decade of the 60s, not ours, but theirs. The decade when Rome ruled the world, when Caesar Nero's name stirred fear in every heart, and when tension in Judea simmered like an untended fire. Israel was restless. The temple stood in majesty atop Mount Moriah, gleaming with white marble and gold. Pilgrims still filled her courts. Priests still offered sacrifices. And yet beneath the surface, everything was changing. Christianity had spread far beyond Jerusalem. The message of a crucified and risen Messiah had taken root in places the apostles could scarcely have imagined: Antioch, Corinth, Philippi, Rome. Gentiles were embracing the gospel with joy. They came without the weight of Mosaic law or the centuries of tradition that shaped Jewish identity. That difference created friction. Jewish believers wrestled with how to follow Jesus while remaining faithful to their heritage. Should they still keep the feasts? Should they still circumcise their sons? Could they eat with Gentiles who did not observe the food laws? These were not academic questions. They split churches, divided families, and tested apostles. Paul spent much of his ministry addressing them, urging the churches to hold fast to the gospel of grace while honoring one another in love. Meanwhile, Rome's patience with the Jews was wearing thin. Tax revolts, zealot uprisings, and nationalist movements ignited across Judea. By the mid-60s AD, the region was a powder keg. Nero's persecution of Christians in Rome had already begun, and whispers of rebellion echoed back to Jerusalem. The Jews saw Rome as a pagan oppressor. Rome saw Judea as a problem to crush. Caught between them were the Christians, especially the Jewish Christians, whose loyalties were questioned by both sides. They loved their nation, yet they worshipped a crucified king. They honored the temple, yet they knew a greater sacrifice had been made. Then came the words of Jesus, spoken decades earlier but still echoing in memory. Do you see these great buildings? There will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. Mark 13. When he said it, many struggled to believe him. The temple was the pride of the nation, the visible sign of God's covenant presence. To imagine it gone was unthinkable. But Jesus had not spoken idly. He warned of judgment that would fall, of wars and desolation, of the end of an age. For the unbelieving Jews, that prophecy was offensive. For the faithful, it was sobering. For Jewish Christians who loved Jesus yet still worshiped him in the temple's rituals, it must have stirred both fear and confusion. What would it mean if the temple fell? What would happen to the priesthood, to the sacrifices, to the Day of Atonement that had defined their worship for 1,000 years? Would God still forgive them? Would his presence still dwell among them? It was in this moment of tension and uncertainty that the Spirit moved someone, whose name remains unrecorded, to write a letter. It was unlike any other in the New Testament and spoke directly to the heart of Jewish believers standing on the edge of history's greatest transition. That letter is what we now call the Book of Hebrews. The author writes as one who knows the temple still stands, the priests still serve, the sacrifices still burn, and the people still gather. But woven through every line is a quiet, unshakable truth. Something greater has come. The law was good, but it was a shadow. The sacrifices were holy, but they were temporary. The priests were chosen, but they were mortal. Hebrews lifts the veil and shows what all of it was pointing to. For every high priest is appointed to offer gifts and sacrifices. Thus it is necessary for this priest also to have something to offer. Hebrews 8:3. He holds his priesthood permanently because he continues forever. Consequently, he is able to save to the uttermost those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. Hebrews 7, verse 24-25. The writer's message could not have come at a better time. The Spirit was preparing hearts for what was about to happen. In just a few short years, the unthinkable would occur. Rome would surround Jerusalem. The temple would burn. The priesthood would end. The old covenant, once radiant in glory, would close its final chapter in fire and ash. But those who had heard the words of Hebrews, those who had anchored their faith not in the earthly sanctuary but in the heavenly one, would understand. They would grieve, but they would not be lost. Their high priest was not in Jerusalem. He was in heaven. He would never die, never need replacing, and never fail in intercession. Imagine the comfort of that realization. When the familiar was gone, the eternal remained. When the altar was silent, grace still spoke. When the smoke cleared from the ruins, faith stood unshaken. What the destruction of the temple removed from the earth, Hebrews had already replaced in the heart. The covenant had not been broken, it had been fulfilled. The sacrifices had not been lost, they had been completed in Jesus. The priesthood had not ended, it had been perfected forever. That truth still steadies us today. We may not face the loss of a temple, but we all know what it means for something once solid to crumble. We know the ache of change, the fear that life's foundations can shift beneath our feet. Hebrews reminds us that the center of our faith cannot be destroyed. Our high priest is not confined to a building. He is not bound by time or culture or failure. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Hebrews 4:15. He stands before the Father even now, representing us not as frail men once did, but as the eternal Son, perfect, merciful, and faithful. Because of him, we will never need to wonder if we are forgotten. We will never have to search for another priest or another altar. We will never face a moment when our access to God is cut off. When everything else falls, he remains. When the world shifts, he holds us steady. When judgment comes, he intercedes. The temple fell, but faith stood, and it still stands because our high priest lives forever. And so we rest in the quiet strength of that truth. The fire has burned, the stones have fallen, the world has changed, yet Christ remains. His intercession has not ceased, his mercy has not weakened, his covenant has not failed. In every age, in every ruin, his presence is still our sanctuary. He is enough. He always will be. Take a moment to let that truth settle in your heart. Where has something fallen in your life, and what would it mean to remember that Christ still stands for you? If this reflection speaks to you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your words may be the reminder someone else needs today.